And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 5, episode 5. And I feel like I've been saying since episode 1 that it's a great time of the year. And that continues as we get deeper. I know for my guys, the Illinois Wesleyan Titans, this is a game week. The Titans played DePaul, the Blue Demons, this Sunday. So I feel it's officially D3 hoop season. Practice started. And really, really thrilled to have one of the great coaches in Division III with me, Jeff Gard, the head men's basketball coach of the Wisconsin-Platteville Pioneers. Jeff, would you agree with me that this is an awesome time of the year? Talk about that a little bit and how the heck are you doing?
Well, it is. It's a great time. Obviously, there's just so much going on, and I'll just speak from Platteville's standpoint. I mean, our football team is ranked in the top 10 in the country, and obviously we got a big one coming up this week with Whitewater here for football. Our volleyball team is ranked in the top 25. Our cross country teams are doing unbelievable.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's a lot of buzz, and we're just kind of laid under the radar right now with practices going on and getting ready for a couple scrimmages coming up here in the next couple weeks. But it's a lot of excitement, anxious excitement. You got the new pieces coming in. How do they fit? Are the old guys getting bigger and better and leading the way they're supposed to? So, it's that time of year where there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces early, but we're looking forward to it.
That under the radar piece might be about to change if it's even legit, coach, because I got to tell you, I had to turn in my ballot, my top 25 ballot for d3hoops.com, and I had the Pioneers number 1. We did this little D3 datacast draft last week where we picked like conference tournament winners, and I had the third pick. I took UW-Platteville to win the WIAC. And so as well as I do that you guys come into this year with some pretty big expectations. Are seasons like this fun when you come in with expectations like that? Are they stressful, or talk about just walking into a year with this much talent and people kind of looking at you guys again?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. You do have the excitement, the little hunger, obviously, from the way things ended last year. But then, I think it's everybody right now. I mean, when that season ends, okay, it's the kind of I don't want to say the relief of the season being over, but then there's also, okay, take a deep breath. But then you're looking at your moving pieces. Who's coming back? What's the class looking like coming in? You got, the transfer portal, everything going on there. I mean, hoping you guys aren't going to get poached in there. And, if they do, you're able to pull them back. We were fortunate with Logan to be able to pull him back. But then there's also, the excitement, obviously, getting ready for it as well. So, with the excitement, the anticipation of this program and, obviously what Coach Ryan did back in the 90s and, hopefully trying to get it to that level of consistency. One of the things we always focus on, and it's kind of been our motto this year, is just one vision. And it's not the vision of the very end goal. It's one day at a time. That's what we can focus on right now. And, it's a little coach speech as it is, but I think this group's really done a good job of just buying in in that, where are you at? What's the task at hand today?
The conference that you guys play in is the best conference historically in Division III men's basketball, the WIAC. Last year it was a little bit unique in that there was a cluster of teams that looked like the WIAC race I'm used to. You had River Falls 8-6, La Crosse 8-6, Whitewater 7-7, Stevens Point 7-7, Stout 6-8, Eau Claire 5-9. That's how the top of the WIAC always looks to me. Now, like, you guys won it by a full 4 games at 12-2. So it was a unique year, and that very rarely does anyone pull away like that in the league. As you look at the race this year coming in, how do you kind of assess the WIAC, which is always, again, a powerhouse league as you come into this one?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of balance across it as well. That it's with the teams coming back. They got a lot of returners coming back throughout the league as well. That there's no good get well game. I guess that's the way we kind of put it. You got to be ready to go every single night, and especially in this league, protect the home floor, and try to go 500 on the road is kind of the goal.
Right.
And I think that's the big thing is that if you can, take care of your business at home, and then knowing that you're going to have to bring it when you go on the road as well. It's a challenge. I mean, the environments that you go into in the WIAC, it's almost like the sixth man that's coming on the floor against
Right.
you. So you got to be ready for it.
Yeah, great league with great home court advantages, great fan bases. Obviously, just a lot of great programs in the league. Last year, you guys had an incredible season, 26-5, 12-2 in the league. You made it to the Elite Eight. And not to focus on the downside of this, but boy, I was watching every second of that Trine game, and I almost stopped watching it. You guys were up 10 with like a minute and 40 to go, and just coached one of these games where probably everything that could have gone wrong in a minute 40 that could have did, and that game ends up going to overtime. You lose by 2 points. You look back on I mean, so many crazy things had to happen
Right.
for trying to win that game, and I don't want to go into them because it'll sound like I'm being negative towards Trine. But how this is a loaded question. How tough was that loss to Trine, and has that been something that you've spent time in the off season recounting in your head, or have we all moved on from that one?
Well, no, it's always in the back of your mind. It's kind of that little bit of a motivator as well. And, we try to put a little humor with it now. I mean, we're doing, within practice as well, we're doing some free throw stuff and, working on a box out, even when there's, it's just shooting free throws in practice. It's, the little details. And I think that's the thing that, we've emphasized over the years is that, in the biggest games when there's equal talent, it's going to be who does the little things the best. And I think that's obviously, I give credit to Coach Miller and Trine and those guys. They executed down the stretch. There's
Absolutely.
about, how this is something that they practice, that the free throw situations. And I think you can draw them up, you can talk about them, but when it happens organically, whether it be in a practice, that's when you probably get the most out of it. And again, like you hit it right on the head. Everything that had to go wrong for us did. Everything that had to go right for Trine did
Yeah.
as well. And I think it's one of those. I've heard the comment before. It just wasn't meant to be. You got to learn from it, grow from it, and then turn the page and get ready for the next one.
Yeah, and I think that's why the expectations are so high. You had this fantastic year. You play Trine in that game, and they win the national championship. And so you return this loaded team, and I want to talk about those guys in just a second. But you also get off to this incredible schedule. Your non-conference schedule, I'll go through all the teams in a second, is awesome. I didn't realize how good your schedule was until yesterday. I was like, wow, 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 wow. But what's cool is this the opening tournament you're playing in at my alma mater, the Sikma Invitational at Illinois Wesleyan. I remember when Coach Rose told me that Platteville had committed to this, like I don't know, a year or 2 years ago. And I thought, wow, like he's been trying to build a tournament that people view as having 4 elite programs year in and year out. And so you look at this thing, all 4 of the teams in the Sikma tournament won their conference last year, at least a share. So you've got Illinois Wesleyan plays Cal Lutheran. Cal Lutheran won the SCIAC. That's the early game Friday. And then Calvin versus Platteville. Just talk about that field as a whole, Jeff. That's a pretty great Division III tournament that you're going to be part of there on opening weekend.
Well, it is. I think that's the excitement of it. When we first committed to it, not knowing everybody else that was going to be in it, but then, as we obviously got going and Ron and I talked obviously about who else was coming, it kind of got you excited. And I think it's, like you said, it's loaded. It's going to be an early test. There's, somebody could come out of there 2-0. Somebody could also come out of there 0-2 and still be a legit contender for not only their conference, but for the national title as well. And I think that's the excitement that's kind of coming into it. You're really going to find out the character of a team, and all four teams is how do we respond after that weekend? Even if you go 2-0 down there, is your head going to be too big? Do you handle it the wrong way? Conversely, if you go 0-2, how do you respond to that? And is it going to make or break your season? No, it's not. I mean, it's the first two games of the year and you're tested. I think I look at it last year. We went out to the small college classic
Yeah.
out in South Dakota and we got tested again. St. John's was the first one and Keene was the second one. We came out of there 1-1. Very easily could have come out of there 0-2.
Sure.
Well, we didn't play great against St. John's and we were fortunate to pull it out. So, I think, like I said, early tests there do help out. I think our scheduling coordinator for us needs to have his head examined. I look back at that schedule when it was all said and done, and I'm like, man, what are we doing? But hey, you got to test our guys, find out where they're at. That's the excitement too. Is like they know now they're looking at the schedule, and there is no game that okay, we can kind of take our foot off the gas here because everybody on that schedule has been in the NCAA tournament, won their conference. A couple of them we played in the NCAA tournament last year. So,
Right.
Get ready to go.
That full schedule, just to walk through it, is opening game at the Sikma is against Calvin. We'll talk about that matchup in just a second. Night 2, you get either Illinois Wesleyan or Cal Lutheran. Those teams both won a league last year. Illinois Wesleyan should be the favorite in the CCIW when the coaches poll comes out, I would assume. The number 2 team in the CCIW coaches poll should be the next team you play, which is Carthage. They return a ton, including getting a very important injured player back. They have a sophomore named Ryan Johnson, a 6'7" kid that's probably going to be an All-American someday sooner than later. You stay in the CCIW with North Central. You stay in the CCIW with Augustana, who should be very good this year, with Tyler Knuth returning. Then you go Heidelberg, a great program from the OAC, Gustavus Adolphus. You play Hope. Hope's a team that's going to be in the top 25 conversation. Central had a great year in the ARC. Bethany Lutheran is picked to win their league. And then you finish with either St. Norbert, which is always a powerhouse program in that league, or Lake Forest. So, Jeff, really, when you talk about needing to have your scheduling guy have his head checked, what do we think of this slate that you're playing this year? That's incredible.
Exactly. No, it is. We're excited about it. Like I said, we're gonna, if this is a group that I wanted to challenge, this is the schedule that's going to do that for them as well. And, like I said, we're going to find out the true character of our team. And I always say, we talk about that a lot. Your character gets revealed when you get challenges and, you're going to get tested every single night and it's going to be the ups and downs. And, how do you respond to the pros and the cons that come out of those nights as well?
Any change in scheduling philosophies with this move from the old selection system to this NPI computer model, that there's no more regionally ranked opponent wins, but strength of schedule is still very important. Wins against good teams, there's a factor in there. Do you change at all how you're scheduling or just keep rolling with what you've been doing?
Well, for us, we've been just kind of roll with what we've got. We know that obviously strength of schedule is going to help with our league, as tough as our league is. And then, some of the series that we've had home and home, obviously Hope has been one that we've had over the years now. It's consistently playing them home and away. That's obviously going to help us out. And then, continuing to find those good teams that are around us as well that we can play. And I think that's a key component to it all. But like I said at the beginning of it, it's no one as tough as our league is. Scheduling wise, strength of schedule is going to be strong. So now you're just preparing your team really more for your league than you are for obviously that the look or the eye test of a schedule too.
Right. Before we get to talking about some of your players, I wanted to ask about Bo Ryan. That was a real big deal for Wisconsin basketball in general, certainly Platteville, when Coach Ryan was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame recently. At Platteville, he was 353 and 75. So he was there from 1984 to 1999. He won the WIAC 8 times and he won 4 national championships. One of the most legendary Division III coaches, and probably the greater basketball world looks at him like a D1 guy. I think all of us in D3 look at him like a D3 guy. What did that mean for the program to see Bo Ryan get into the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think it put kind of the icing on top of the cake of what we already knew here. Now it was just putting it on the national level, the world level, how good of a coach he was. When you talk about obviously him being at Wisconsin, but he took his model, what he had at Platteville,
Right.
the Division III level, and made it work at the Division I level. So really, I mean, it's when he even talks about it too, is the only difference between Division I and Division II or Division III is the Roman numeral. You're getting players now at this level that, early on they're a little overlooked. Maybe they haven't grown into their bodies yet, but by the time they're juniors and they're seniors, now they're the guys that are the mid-major Division I players. And you look back in the 90s when he was here, there was the redshirting was in play. So you had fifth-year seniors, fourth-year juniors playing in that program as well. So kind of where we're at right now, I've got 3 fifth-year guys that
Sure.
are showing it. That's kind of the COVID piece of it. But I think the biggest thing is that he was true to, what he did here, that the model did not change much at all. It was just the fact that, plug it in a little bit more height to what he could do. And I think, again, it's from our program and the community in Southwest Wisconsin and even the state of Wisconsin, just taking a lot of pride in the fact that he's there. I was fortunate enough to be able to go out with a few of our boosters as well, to be out there for the ceremony on Saturday and Sunday as well, and to share that with him as well. He's taken a lot of pride in it. This was a special place for him, and it kind of let him really make a name for himself.
Yeah, and I always appreciated, just as a D3 fan, how public he was about advocating for Division III. Even when he was a big-time Division I coach, you would regularly hear him talk about how good Division III basketball is, which I always found awesome. You mentioned some of those fifth-year guys you have, and one of the young men I had on the QCast last year had a blast talking to him, was Logan Pearson, first-team All-American player that returns for a fifth year. He averaged 23 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He shot the three at 41%. So he's 62 of 150. He's an 85% free throw shooter. 6'4" forward, kind of a versatile wing player, gets to the basket, can shoot the heck out of it, has great size. Talk a little bit, if you would, Coach, about your returning superstar and Logan Pearson.
Well, I think he's a guy that obviously has got a lot of different pieces to his game. Like you said, you can definitely step out and shoot it. I honestly, I think when we see him and we kind of look at how we play, his ability to play around with his back to the basket as well. He's just kind of got a craftiness to him there. Still some pieces to the game that we've been adding for him on both ends of the floor, things that we can challenge him a little bit more to be successful. But I think he would also be the first to tell you that his success comes from the 4 other guys that are on the floor around him. They allow him to kind of, go a little bit more of a one-on-one. If you try to throw a double on him, he's got some weapons around him that he's not afraid to spray it out to and give it up. He trusts those guys as well. That makes it a little bit more efficient and a little bit tougher to guard him in a solo situation as well. And why you'll see nights that he'll have great numbers. There'll be nights that he'll be down a little bit, but other guys are picking it up, and a lot of that just because of how the teams are playing defense on him as well.
Yeah, really a special player, like you said, that can do a little bit of everything and doesn't need to be the guy in every game. He often is. He's one of 4 returning starters. So the one starter that you lose to graduation is Brad Neese, who averaged 4 points, 4 rebounds. He was had great size, 6'7", 235. The other 4 starters come back. I want to ask you about Ben Probst, who averaged 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Another guy that just shoots the daylights out of it. He's a 6'1" guard. He shot 45% from three, 82 of 181, 86% free throw shooter. Talk a little bit, if you would, Coach, about Ben.
Well, I think first off, he'd tell you that he'd want to increase that free throw percentage. Those guys, he and Logan both. I mean, down in Trine, obviously had opportunities to seal the deal as well. But no, again, another individual that knows his role, is good within it. Plays extremely well off of others as well, and he kind of knows. The guys obviously with familiarity within the system, they obviously know where shots are going to come from, and when you have within the system, they understand what they're doing in the movement, but they also understand what their teammates are looking to do. It sets up a little bit more of that next shot mentality and getting ready to go as well. But I think one of the big things I would say with Ben is he's just a leader as well. And coming out of high school at La Follette, just a multi-sport athlete, and we put him on the basketball floor during that COVID year as a true freshman. We just saw it there. He wasn't afraid and he stepped up. Even, having the guys in the likes of Quentin Shields and Alex Rainey and some of those guys out there that were dominant leaders. Ben was not afraid to speak up, and we're definitely seeing it right now. He's being a great leader for this program as well.
Another starter that returns is Max Love, who I believe is a junior this year, a 6'4" forward, averaged 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, does a little bit of everything for you. Talk a little bit, if you would, about Max Love.
Well, Max is just the free-spirited type of player, I guess you can say, on our team. He's you never know how to read him. He's always he comes with a ton of energy as well, and plays the game very loose as well. I've always kind of joked around about it. We'll be in film sessions or we're sitting on the sideline. He puts up a shot, and he's coming down. You're trying to tell him to slow down a little bit, but he just has a feel, a knack for what's going on. And I think the best thing with Max is, as he's been a part of this program, every year we're seeing him get better and better and better. That's the kind of the excitement of it as well, that he's had the opportunity to learn from Logan. And kind of those are the battles that those two guys go at each other every day in practice, which is making Max that much better. And then obviously, the anticipation of obviously becoming a leader, of learning that role of not just what you do on the floor, but what you're saying out there. We're starting to see him step up in that role, which is exciting. Obviously, I don't want to put it in the past already, but looking forward to next year as well, that another guy that can just step right in,
Sure.
And I think it's a sign of a consistency in the program that you want to have as well.
Starter 4 that returns is Brady Olson, a 6 foot, I believe he's a senior now, guard, averaged 6 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists last year. Again, another really important part of your season last year. Talk, if you would, about Brady Olson.
He's kind of the bulldog of the team. He's not afraid to stick his nose in anywhere and and let you know what's going on as well. Kind of a gym rat, wants to be a coach, understands the game. And I think where we really started seeing our team have more consistency last year is where he just kind of stepped up into the role on the defensive end of the floor, and kind of setting the tone of what we were going to be like there. When your point guard's out in front, and the one that's kind of getting dirty as well, it makes everybody else kind of crank it up on that end of the floor as well. A Division II guard transferred in from UW Parkside, but Brady went to school just down the road in Cuba City. So obviously he had a great mentor, and Jerry Pettigrew down there as well. But Brady coming in as well, another guy that, hey, what do you need me to do mentality? Understood his role. Obviously, there's a guard that can go score, but he understands right now he probably just needs to get past first point guard, get us set up, put more of an emphasis on the defensive end of the floor for us.
We talk about your return in 4 of the 5 starters, but I feel like there's kind of a 5th guy that was a starter last year, and that's Bristol Lewis, because he really played starter minutes for you. And he had a big year, 7 points, 2 rebounds, and assists. He's a 6'1" guard. Talk about Bristol Lewis, if you would, Jeff.
Well, a competitor. I think he's kind of got that little bit of a combination of Brady Olson, that competitiveness there that, is not afraid to stick his nose in there, competes at the highest level. Even with little things that we do in drills, if he loses, he's upset about it. Got a little bit of edge to him. He's got a little bit of the Ben Probst in him as well, where there's no stage that seems too big. Very confident in his shooting and what he does there as well. And I think that's what we saw with him last year as he grew, understood what was going on in the system, and started trusting. I think more importantly, when he started trusting everybody around him, the coaches as well, his game just started to expand as well. And then, you really look at some of those games, NCAA tournament games against, Case Western, he took some big, big shots, and I've always kind of said Bristol's one that the stage is never too big for him. He's not afraid to be there in the moment as well and plays within that as well. And another one that, we're seeing from year one to year two, that growth that's coming. Partially that is just, the piece of coming from a freshman to a sophomore. You get bigger and stronger, but you also understand the game and what we're trying to do as well.
You have a couple really guys with great size who seem poised to step into big minutes this year. Joey Furman, who's 6'8", 220 forward, and Miles Hedinger, who's a 6'7", 230 forward. These are some dudes with great size, Coach. Is it fair to say that Furman and Hedinger play increased roles for you this season?
They do. They do. I think they did a good job, over the last 2 years of kind of being that backup to Brad. I think if you look at it minutes wise, numbers wise, they obviously their numbers kind of stepped up above. Joey's came to us, obviously, even coming out of high school, came from a similar system in Waunakee, coaching staff there. There's a bunch of Platteville guys. So Joey, kind of came in above Miles with, kind of a leg up, understanding the system, the terminology, what was going on. It was just a matter of, understanding the speed of the game, getting a little bit stronger. Miles, we kind of joke around about it, but Miles is the typical Wisconsin basketball kid coming from Minnesota. You look at the Badgers, they always get that big man out of Minnesota that's versatile, can step out and shoot it. That's what we kind of have in Miles as well. He's big. He likes to play on the perimeter a little bit more than we like. I think he thinks he's more of a two guard than a five man. But we have that understanding of, you're bigger, you're stronger. Let's get you around the rim as well. Know where you can score at as well, playing in it. Again, two guys that just do a great job of working off of each other. I think they're putting the biggest pressure on the coach of, who's going to get the starting nod. But I also think they both understand that, it doesn't really matter who starts. Both of them are going to get a pretty good balance of each other. And, the big key is that they both continue to buy into their role and allow us to be able to be successful.
Then one final guy, and there's others I haven't mentioned, but that I wanted to ask about. You added a transfer this year from Division II St. Leo, and that's Marshawn Robinson, who's a 6'2" sophomore, went to high school at Waukesha South. Is Marshawn Robinson someone that you expect to be in things at the beginning? Is he still kind of finding his way with the Pioneers, or what's his status right now?
Well, I think he's still finding his way. The one thing that Marshawn and I've talked about, he needs to go back to his high school days. His high school coach was Bo Richter, a young man that played for us here at Platteville, was on my staff as well. Once he finished up his eligibility before he went to South, a lot of the same terminologies, same things that they were doing at South is what we were doing here in Platteville. So, there's a lot of that similarity there. The big thing is just trying to get Marshawn to understand our system, how we play within it, and then how he will play within it as well. And I think that's a big thing coming in, especially when you've been in college for 2 years, coming back in, understanding the new role. It's just like a freshman coming in again, just 2 years, 2 eyes, 1 mouth mentality, be a learner of the game, be patient, and understand that good things will come. And, I look at it too, he's a little bit like Bristol. Bristol wanted to be out there right away and was probably fast forwarding it too much. Just needed to be patient and to kind of trust what's going on, learn from those around him. And I think that we're seeing that with Marshawn, and he's starting to have a little bit more consistency within practice and what we're looking for. But yet again, as I said before, we throw him out on the floor, he's going to have to prove that, I understand it. I know what's going on. Talent level, he's extremely athletic. For first step, he's got that skill that was intriguing to the Division II, schools that were looking at him as well. So now it's just a matter of understanding how he's going to play within our system and how he can be successful in it too.
Just two more topics, and we're talking to Platteville head men's basketball coach Jeff Gard. Jeff, thanks for all the time. Wanted to, before I let you go, talk about the Calvin matchup because it's officially on the clock now, right? I mean, so on November 8th, uniquely, that game's the late game. Illinois Wesleyan's playing the early game to make sure that Zev Reamer of Cal Lu, who's Orthodox Jewish student athlete, can play in that game and observe Sabbath. And so you've got the headliner game there with Calvin. These are two Elite Eight teams. They look different this year. Well, first of all, they returned most of their team and they're loaded, and they've added some really good transfers. I think a couple D2 guys, size. They're different in that they have the best five-man in Division III, and Jalen Overway, who tore his ACL, unfortunately, in that Elite Eight game against Trinity, Connecticut. So they don't have that weapon, which is a big part of what they do. But not to go into all the X's and O's, Jeff, but how do you look at that matchup against Calvin on opening night of the season?
Well, first, this is going to be the third matchup in the last, 3 years. We saw them in the NCAA tournament 2 years ago, 3 years ago at our place. They beat us, took it to us pretty good at our place in the tournament. And then last year we faced them in the Christmas tournament down in Trine.
Right.
And kind of returned the favor. So I think it's kind of the rubber match as well. The battle of the size, I think that's a big thing that you're always looking at when you play Calvin. Coach does a great job up there, obviously, of knowing how to take advantage of what they've got as well. Honestly, early on, am I going to be too worried about what they're doing or more about what we're doing? And I think that's kind of the focus early on in this season is, where are we at? You get tested, you're going to be looking at the matchups, how do our bigs match up against them? But then, they've got some athletic guards as well that,
Sure.
You have to keep in check. And like I said, it's, we got quite a few days. I know the numbers, the clock is ticking, but we got a lot of days here to still worry about Platteville and what we need to do. And, I go back to what I said at the very beginning. Our motto is one vision, and that's just obviously worrying about today and making sure today's practice goes the right way. And we're better today than we were the other day.
And then with that tournament, do you approach it almost like is it like an NCAA Friday, Saturday thing where you've got assistants taking a look at Illinois Wesleyan and Cal Lutheran to prep for that second game, or do you do all that prep just on site, or how does that go in terms of getting ready for game 2 on November 9th, the next night?
Yeah, no, we'll attack it just like an NCAA tournament. And we do that, with really the 3 back-to-back days that we have now. I know obviously the Heidelberg and Gustavus Adolphus, we know who the second opponent's going to be already, but a lot of that preparation going into that week, of kind of getting a dose of the teams that you will be seeing or could be seeing as well. So that's been one of the things that we've looked at over the last few years as well. Treat it more like an early NCAA tournament game. So our guys have a taste of it. And then when you get into February with your conference tournament in March, you can say, hey, we've been here, we've done this. Guys are more familiar with it. I've got an unbelievable coaching staff as well that, they understand what's going on. They're going to have us well prepared, from the scout side of things. So it allows us to kind of, myself to be able to sit back and be, hey, just worry about us, focus on us. The coaching staff will get them ready to go. And, the players understand that as well. So, go back, trust the system,
Sure.
Trust the process. And that's what it's going to be all about.
And then last question I mentioned earlier, I've seen several of the people that put their ballots publicly out on social media, you've got several number one votes. So I think it's safe to say that you'll be somewhere in the one or two or three range. I don't know all 25 ballots, but you're going to be one, two, three. If I had to bet, I'd bet on one. But the poll, we're recording here on Monday the 21st. The poll might come out later today or tomorrow the 22nd. Just your reaction to probably being in the top three nationally come into the season. I should ask you that officially, so when the poll comes
Yep.
out, we can hear your take.
Well, I think it's anytime a preseason poll comes out, I always look at it. It's a product of what you've done in the past. And I think you look at that piece of it, past, obviously last year, who do we have returning? The past is also what's the consistency of the program? Is it kind of the 1 year wonder, or is it consistently been successful? And I think that's where the credit goes, and the excitement obviously about what's coming, what we have returning, but then that preseason ranking, like I said, that kind of comes into play of what were you, who do you have returning? What did you do last year? And I think that's a big focus because you can add a lot of new pieces to it, but you have to get that cohesion on both ends of the floor. So, it's an honor. Yes, we're excited about it. I think it's something our fans are going to be excited about it. We also understand that, there hasn't been a game played yet. So continue to focus on how can we be, better today than we were yesterday. And the ultimate goal is at the end of the year, being ranked up there as well. So.
Yeah, that's it's an exciting time of year. Polls coming out, people get excited. I'll ask you for any final thoughts to close us out. What I'll say, Jeff, honor to have you on here. Respect the heck out of your program, what you've done with the program. I think the Case Western Reserve game in the Sweet 16 was your 250th win. Congratulations on incredible success. This group you have coming into this year is very special. Look forward to seeing you in person. I'm flying up to Bloomington. Wouldn't miss the Sikma tournament. So really looking forward to seeing four great Division III men's basketball teams. With that, how about you kind of close us out? You'll have some the Pioneer fans tuning in, D3 Hoop fans. What would you like to close us out with here on the QCast, Jeff?
Well, first, obviously, thank you for what you do. And, we talk a lot about it. Obviously, Division III basketball doesn't always get the media attention that it really should. But I think it's obviously guys like yourself that are putting it out there and making that effort to be known that some really good basketball at the Division III level. The excitement of the season is right around the corner, and I know Pioneer Nation's chomping at the bit to get a look at this group as well. And we got some exciting things around the program as well, not only within this team, but things that are taking place around Platteville athletics as a whole. And we're excited obviously to see all our fall sports finish out the season, and hopefully get birth into the NCAA tournament as well, and then we can do our part and continue that success. So I always say it's kind of like when you're talking to high school recruits as well. If you're playing a fall sport, having success there, that's going to roll right into winter sports as well. And I think that's kind of the product that we're looking here as well. That our fall sports are setting the tone early for Pioneer Nation, that excitement of what's to come as well. And we're looking forward to the next one.
Well, that's very well said. And for those of you that are D3 fans in the Midwest, not that hard to get to Bloomington, Illinois. I know that my friends Matt and Zach Snyder of the D3 Datacast confirmed today that they're heading to Bloomington to cheer on their Calvin Knights, and real easy to get to Bloomington from Platteville, Wisconsin, or the Chicago area, or Central Illinois, or wherever. So I hope to see many of the QCast viewers there in the building, because that should be a pretty special tournament. Jeff Gard, the head men's basketball coach of Wisconsin Platteville, I know how busy you are, so thank you for your time. I know people will appreciate hearing from you. Have a great day, Jeff. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you.